never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. Happy Sunday to everybody out there. Let's go ahead and talk about some of the college football games from yesterday. It's hard to believe that after yesterday, we only have 1 week left in the regular season in the world of college football. Oklahoma defeated BYU by the score of 31-24. Now, there are rumors that BYU's head coach, Kalani Sitake, might be on the hot seat, but it seems like he's been on the hot seat now for 4 or 5 years. SMU defeats Memphis by the score of 38-34. Memphis offense makes them very, very exciting to watch, but their defense is absolutely pitiful. Louisville defeats Miami by the score of 38-31, and it seems like Louisville struggles every single week. They very rarely blow anybody out. Every game they play comes down to the wire, but Louisville always finds a way to win it. They're now 10-1 on the season. I know before the season started, I said they probably have a really good season because they avoided Clemson, they avoided Florida State, and they avoided North Carolina, which to most people, those are the 3 best teams in the ACC, and Louisville didn't play any of them. I don't know if I expected Louisville to be 10-1 and be a fringe top 10 team, but I figured with avoiding Clemson and North Carolina and Florida State, that they would be a pretty good team with a pretty good season because Jeff Brom is one of the best offensive minds in the country. Penn State defeats Rutgers 27-6. Drew Allar, Penn State quarterback, left the game with an injury, and all they kept saying is an apparent injury, so I'm not sure how bad it is. Michigan looked awful, but they beat Maryland by the score of 31-24. They definitely do not look like the same team without Jim Harbaugh on the sidelines. It looked like they were going to blow Maryland out of the water when the game started. And then Michigan got a big lead, and then after that, they looked average the rest of the game. And for whatever reason, Blake Corum is just not looking near as good this year running the ball as he did last year. I don't know what's going on, but he just doesn't look near as effective. Wofford defeated Furman by the score of 19-13. I only bring that game up because I did a Furman season preview before the game started this year, and I believe I had Furman going 8-3. If memory serves, they actually went 9-2. They were number 2 in America in FCS football, but Wofford is pitiful, so Furman won't finish number 2. But they were at one time number 2 in all the land in FCS football, but they finished 9-2 in the regular season, and I think I picked them to go 8-3, so I knew they'd have a good season, and they had a really good season. Michigan State defeats Indiana 24-21 in a game that you just can't find any words to explain or try to describe. New Mexico State 31, Auburn 10. Just when it looked like Hugh Freeze had Auburn going in the right direction, they not only lose to New Mexico State, I mean, they lost by 21 points. And even if you're one of those people that says, oh, they were looking past them to Alabama, which I don't believe that. Those are kinds of things that fans say when their team loses and they try to explain away their team losing. You don't look ahead to the following game. But even if you use that excuse should be out the window when it's halftime and you're still losing. But Auburn was losing at halftime, but the second half, they got worse. So they got worse as the game went on. So, of course, there's probably Auburn fans now that are saying, okay, go ahead and get Hugh Freeze out of here. But he's not getting fired in year one. But that's just an absolutely pitiful loss that you can't defend. Georgia all over Tennessee, 38-10. I knew last week when Tennessee scored 7 against Missouri that this game was not going to be close. Tennessee's offense this year they cannot move the football consistently. Joe Milton has okay numbers as far as just his overall stats as a quarterback, but he just cannot move the ball consistently up and down the field. He moves the ball against Kentucky's and UConn's and Ball State. But when you put him up against good teams, he just can't move the football. So that score is about what I thought it would be. Washington defeats Oregon State by the score of 22-20. Ever since Washington beat Oregon, they have struggled in every single game, but they have won every single game. I don't know if Oregon will pass them in the playoff poll because the head-to-head matchup should matter. Otherwise, why play the game? But since that game, Oregon has definitely looked better and Washington has looked worse, but they're winning. Texas defeats Iowa State 26-16. Missouri wins again. They hold off Florida 33-31. Iowa wins another low-scoring slugfest. They defeat Illinois by the score of 15-13. Arizona all over Utah by the score of 42-18. And I'm sure Utah regrets this season, but they should have went ahead before the season started and just told America that Cam Rising is out for the year, because all they kept saying week after week was, he's out this week, he's out this week, he's out this week, giving off the impression he was going to be back. And they've played about 19 quarterbacks this year, and the only game this year their offense looked good was against USC, but everybody's offense looks good against USC. Clemson defeats North Carolina 31-20. Clemson is definitely not the same team now they were when the year started. Don't know what clicked, don't know what changed, but ever since the Notre Dame game, as soon as that game started on the opening kickoff, you could just see a different football team. But yesterday's game made me mad because if you follow the comment section on the channel, I told my man Keveron yesterday morning that Clemson's going to win the game something like 31-21, and I was almost exactly right on. And because of stupid Mac Brown, I missed it by 1 point. Clemson's up 31-14 about midway fourth quarter. The Tar Heels score and make it 31-20, and instead of kicking the extra point to make it a 10-point game, for whatever reason, Mac Brown decides to go for two. They don't get it, so Clemson wins 31-20, but it's about what I thought it would be because North Carolina's defense is pitiful, but Clemson just has not showed me this year that they're going to put up 40-plus points consistently. So even though North Carolina's defense is bad enough for Clemson to score 40-plus, I just didn't see it. And sure enough, the first quarter they were sluggish. Cade Klubnik had 0 passing yards about midway second quarter. Then finally, the offense took off. But their defense for North Carolina has to be a Mac Brown thing, because if you look at their defense, their talent, they've got 4- and 5-star talent all over the field, and they continue changing defensive coordinators, but their defense continues to suck. Kansas State defeats Kansas 31-27. Oklahoma State defeats Houston 43-30. Army over Coastal Carolina 28-21. Northwestern defeats Purdue 23-15. Navy shuts out East Carolina 10-0. West Virginia all over Cincinnati 42-21. We better hope that the Mountaineers don't fire Neil Brown. Me personally, I don't think he deserves it. I'm just saying that because we know Jimbo Fisher is now available, and Jimbo Fisher is from West Virginia. So if West Virginia fires Neil Brown, then all you're going to hear about is Jimbo Fisher, next coach at West Virginia. So we better hope that Neil Brown does not lose his job. Virginia defeats Duke 30-27. UCLA defeats USC 38-20. NC State defeats Virginia Tech 35-28. And I think before the season started, when I did my NC State preview, I had them going either 9-3 or 8-4. And I said they just didn't have enough playmakers on offense to do better than that. Well, right now they're sitting at 8-3, and their offense was pitiful in the first half of the season. But the last couple of games, their offense has slowly gotten better. South Carolina defeats Kentucky 17-14. Wisconsin defeats Nebraska 24-17. And Georgia Tech becomes bowl eligible by defeating Syracuse 31-22. And when I talked to my resident Georgia Tech fan, Mike, earlier in the week, I told him Georgia Tech's going to a bowl game because you'll beat Syracuse. I just don't think Syracuse is very good. And it would not surprise me at all to see Dino Babers get fired as soon as the season ends. But I think that every year, because Syracuse every year does the same thing. Syracuse is the Kentucky of the ACC. They start out playing the softest non-conference schedule you've ever seen, and they'll start out 4-0, and then they get in conference play, and they'll win 1, maybe 2 conference games, and that's about it. Kentucky does the same thing. Kentucky, of course, they only play 3 non-conference games because they wrap up the season with Louisville. But Kentucky will play the softest 3-game non-conference schedule you ever seen and get their fans all excited because they're 3-0, and then they'll start conference play, and they'll play Vanderbilt and Mississippi State, two of the worst teams in the conference, and they generally win those. And next thing you know, Kentucky's 5-0, and then they finish 6-6 or 7-5. Same way this year. I believe they started out 5-0, and after the loss to South Carolina, now they're sitting at 6-5. A few names that are supposedly on the list for Texas A&M are Mike Elko, Cliff Kingsbury, Lane Kiffin, Mike Norvell, and Dan Lanning. No Jeff Traylor. I don't understand that. If I'm A&M, I'm offering Mike Elko a home on 500 acres with a brand new yacht, a brand new RV, a 12-car garage. I'm offering that man anything he wants. I'm going to make Mike Elko tell me no. He should be the first guy they call. And then if he says no, then I would go after Jeff Traylor. Why he's not listed, I don't know. He's currently the coach at UTSA. He wins there. He's got ties to Texas. To me, what better coach would be a guy that has ties to Texas? And of course, Mike Elko has ties to Texas as well because he used to coach their defense. So I would go after Mike Elko and then Jeff Traylor. If by some chance both those guys told me no, I wouldn't call any of the other guys on this list. Why anybody wants Cliff Kingsbury, I don't know. He was a failure at Texas Tech. He was a failure in the NFL. Why you want him, I don't know. Yeah, he's got Texas ties because he played at Texas Tech and he's coached in Texas. But the man has shown he can't coach. Why do teams continuously want to hire head coaches that have sucked everywhere they've gone? I'll never understand that. Lane Kiffin is not bad, but Lane Kiffin's not going to do you any better than Jimbo Fisher did. He's going to consistently have you at 7-5, 8-4 every year. So you ran off Kevin Sumlin, who won 8.5 games a year, to get a little bit worse with Jimbo Fisher. And then if you hire Lane Kiffin, you're pretty much hiring Jimbo Fisher 2.0. You're going to be the same team you are now. I understand Mike Norvell because he turned Florida State around, but I just don't know if Mike Norvell is going to want to turn them around and then the same year leave to go somewhere else. He might want to stay there and prove this is not a one-year fluke. He's actually going to have Florida State being a consistent top 10 team. And Dan Lanning, he's only 37 years old, but he's from Missouri, so he's not from the East or the West. But, of course, he used to be an assistant coach down south, so maybe he misses down south, which Texas really ain't south, but it's closer than Oregon. But he might like it in Oregon, but he's from Missouri, so we can't say, oh, he's going back home. Well, he's from Missouri, so really down south ain't home, and out west he ain't home. But Texas is closer to the south than Oregon is, but I just don't know if you call him already in 2 years because Oregon was winning when he got there, so it's not like he took an awful program and made them good. They were already good, and he's only been there a couple of years. To me, if I'm a team and I want Dan Lanning, I want to see that he can do this consistently. It's easy to take over a team that's already winning and winning consistently and then win the first 2 or 3 years. But can you do that consistently? And you really don't know that in 2 years' time. Any thoughts on any of this, please feel free to let me know. Homes for Our Troops is a publicly funded 501c nonprofit organization that builds and donates specially adapted custom homes nationwide for severely injured post 9/11 veterans. Since the 2004 inception, nearly 90 cents of every dollar spent has gone directly to our program services for veterans. Visit at hfotusa.org. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. Every morning after I get out of the house, a bike comes out of nowhere and runs me over. It's a vicious cycle. And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.